Hi, I'm Bossman Forex from Alpha Capital Trading, and here's why I took my US30 buys today. So if we can go through the trade that I took yesterday during London session, and this was on 14th December 2022. You'll see from the screenshot on the chart on the screen that I took buys, and these buys were taken from a demand area that was formed at this area, and the buys were from this area, and the target was that I wanted to see price to get all the way here. Now, for a more in-depth breakdown, I'm going to switch over to the charts. So here we go, and here we have everything that I had marked up for in preparation for this trade. So I will just run over it because most of how I trade this US30 has been broken down in depth with the step-by-step analysis on my previous video. So for today, I'll just mark out the most interesting bits that I realized from this chart. So first things first. As you can see, this was the push that we experienced the day before. So this was the CPI move that we experienced on Tuesday, and price pushed and gave us a high at this area. Now, after getting this high, this became a very interesting point to me because it showed us that we had the potential of moving even further. So my expectation was that if we had this push, should we break above these two areas, then the likelihood of price pushing all the way up till this area would be high. And so I was looking for bullish opportunities to take advantage of these buys and the bullish pressure to bring us all the way up till here. So step one was now just looking for demand areas that would suit my pursuit for those buys. So if we start off by looking left, we will notice one thing. We will notice that we have this whole area that price failed to break below. Now, this is not a perfect demand zone, of course. So I'm just using this level as a level of expectation for price to close below. So if price would have closed below here, I would have been expecting a further drop to the downside, maybe till an area like this. But since we did not get the close below and we started pushing up, we formed the first demand with an engulfing. Then the second sort of like demand happened at this point, and then we pushed all the way up, closing below these highs. Now, this gave me an indication that despite us not having enough momentum, and this is partly because we had so much volume and momentum within this area, courtesy of the fundamental news releases, the expectation was that as we push till this high, once we start coming back down, these areas should act as obstacles to prevent price from going further down. And if they are respected, then we expect price to break up to that side. So since that was my overall view of the markets, my other expectation was that I will not look for buys from this area, rather I'd look for them from this point, because this one is a lower demand. And if you were part of the webinar that was a few months ago, we talked about taking buys from two zones that are at close proximity. It makes more sense placing your buys at the lower one, because majority of the people will place their stop losses, will make the entries at this demand, and then their stop losses will be below. And so these stop losses, if they accumulate too much, then the markets need to correct heavily and bring us to this lower demand before we actually push up. So that was the expectation with this one. But for this to happen, these two zones have to be in close proximity. So once we have that playing out and we have price pushing all the way up till here, my expectation was that the low volume that comes is usually there between Asian session and the start of London session will bring me in till this point, after which I would place a buy from this area with stops just below this area, whichever point you want to choose. And then my target would be, first of all, we need to break above this area. So once we break above this area, it will be a potential retest for price to proceed up. Then second area to be broken is to be this area. And then should we break above this, I will be targeting a break of this, and finally we come here. Unfortunately, we were able to be triggered in, and we were able to break above and get a bit more momentum. But as we neared the FOMC, so as you understand, similar to how we had the CPI news here, we also had FOMC that was happening later in the evening. So that I can be able to prevent this trade coming back to my stop loss, depending on how the fundamentals play out. My bias was that I would place my stop loss just below this area, so that in the event I'm stopped out, I'll be stopped out in profit, probably around 1:1, 1:2. So that's exactly what I did. And this was NYSE. Another indicator that showed me that there would possibly be an issue with our trade going further up is what I've highlighted here. So failure to close above the high. It's very important to note that when price is in momentum, not only do we get weak fills, but we also get candle closes above that previous week. So as you can see, momentum, we close above, gives us more momentum, right? So in other instances, you can also see we fill the wick, but we also close below. We fill the wick and we also close below. So you'll notice that that is how momentum is depicted. So in our instance here, while we were getting that initially, right, with these few candles, and even with this minor candle here, as we approach this area, we failed to break above this. Now, my confidence would have been, if this candle ended up closing above, the likelihood of price just coming till this demand and pushing to the upside will have been higher, and that will have been my confirmation that this trade will actually be coming till around here. But because we failed to get that break above, you just shift your stop loss below this whole area, and now you just wait for a safe trade. In the event you're stopped out in profit. In the event your trade goes in, the trade goes in your favor, you'll stand to make so much money. So contrary to how we had a really nice trade on Tuesday, Wednesday's trade was a bit of a 1:1, 1:2, because it was stopped out in profit. But regardless, we still journal the trades because that was a trade worth taking again and again. So this period of December is usually very hard to trade because you have a lot of manipulations, and then so many institutions are trying to take profits on their positions before they go on their holidays. So I might not be trading the markets as much, but in the event I do find a trading opportunity, I will definitely be posting it for you guys on YouTube. So thank you so much and cheers, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.